Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this big guy right here. This is the Vanquest Pack's Trident number 32. Very, very interesting pack, and one I'm very glad I got to take a look at. But first off, before I go any further, I got to let you know this guy was sent to me by the maker. I actually reached out to Vanquest, I actually talked to Vanquest at the Blade Show West most recently, and I got a chance to check one of these guys out, and was very, very interested in it. But I told him, as always, I'm going to talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly. It might be a gem, it might be junk. They did still send it along. Nonetheless, we do have to assume this is the very best quality controlled one of these guys ever, and I'm doing my best not to let that affect the nature or the quality of my review. Next thing, let's do some size comparison. I mean, as always for the channel, here it is against the Spidicodelica, and what we're going to see is that you can fit many Spidicodelicas within this particular pack. This is a very, very large pack. Here it is against a standard 6-inch ruler here. Standard 6-inch. I guess 6 inches is a standard, I suppose. But anyways, and what we're going to see here is this is actually a pretty thick pack as well. So it is not a particularly small thing. In fact, it is a 32-liter version. This is the 32-liter capacity version. There is also a 21-liter version, and that is, well, that's a whole situation. A little bit smaller here. This is the Gen 3 version, and actually one other size comparison I'd like to make. Here it is against the pack, which in many ways I was thinking this was going to replace. This is the GoRuck GR2. And so the GR2 is actually a little bit larger at 35 liters, but nonetheless, we see that this guy is a little shorter overall, but also maybe a little bit thicker, although given the GR2 can plump up when it's full. So, and actually that brings me to the kind of the topic here. Why would I ever do this pack? Well, for me, one of the best things for a good backpack is for travel, right? That way you just, throw all your stuff in the pack, and in many cases you can go an entire trip without actually having to check a bag, right? You just got this stuff on your back. Makes travel, airports, all that much easier. And, historically I've used the GR2 for that, but the thing is, GoRuck's marketing continues to drive me freaking nuts. But more importantly, I'm always curious about what else is out there. And Vanquest is a company I've come to really appreciate and respect in a bunch of their different stuff. And so I was very curious to check this guy out. And so let's go on ahead and jump into the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of this very interesting pack. So on the good side, to start with, you have 4 different colors available, and it is the Tactical 4, right? You get the black, which is this guy, which you can probably tell because it's black. You get a gray form, you get a camo version, and you get a sand color where it's sort of a tannish sort of thing. All of those are a possibility there. And so it's nice that you get that option, although it would be kind of cool to see it in colors that aren't, generally speaking, high-speed, low-drag, tactical operator colors, just because, it could be interesting to people. Whatever. Not a big deal. The next thing, this guy has Molly webbing everywhere. And this is Molly as in M-O-L-L-E, not like, what I'm sure the kids are doing these days. Molly is a kind of webbing, basically. And you can see, here's an example of it. Here's an example of Molly webbing over here. And the thing that you can do with Molly webbing is you can take this and you can use a little stick, and in fact they sell little Molly sticks, and I can't for the life of me today find one of the Molly sticks I have around in my life. But what this actually allows you to do is you can take something. I'm going to use a Molly ruler, and what you do is you slide it, and then you grab the Molly from here. Come off it. There we go. You slide it through there, and then go into the one under it, and by doing that, eventually, it can't really show you while it's open there, but if I kind of interleave it, so it goes through this, then through this, through this, etc., you get a very, very firm attachment. This becomes very strongly attached, and it's pretty easy to undo, too. You just pull that bit out. They usually have little clips on there. But nonetheless, it allows you to attach things that are also Molly-webbed very readily together and with great security. So you can put an extra thing on the front of this if you'd like. You can put stuff on the side. It's a nice little detail, and it's something that I think for a lot of folks, especially because there is a lot of compatibility with Molly webbing out there in the world, especially in the world of tactical stuff. But yeah, that's definitely an option. Next thing, there are a lot of grommets out here, and specifically, this little area right here is kind of built for a hydration bladder. They used to be called Camelback brand. I don't know if they're still a thing, but you can grab a little thing that holds a bunch of water and sits in this back portion, and then you can snake the little hose from it out either through here or, if you prefer, through here. This is fine, but what it also means is that that area is accessible from the main, that grommet that is accessible from the main pack. Where are my zippers for the main pack? Come here, zippers. I know you're around here someplace. Really? Oh, there they are. So you can also actually put something in the main pack and have it go out through that hole as well. There went my water bottle. People, this is why I work with small objects. But anyways, you can find yourself extracting anything out. And this can be useful, actually, for running like a charging cable out of the pack and onto your person, right? If you're out sitting in an airport terminal and you run out of phone juice, that's power for most of you, phone juice. There you go, enjoy. You can rejuice your phone via that. Okay, moving on. So I like the fact that there are the grommets as well as that there's the...
I didn't understand.
And now Google's jumping in. Google, shut up. We're done here. Anyways, this is falling apart.
What went wrong for Office Sonos?
Okay, Google, shut up. You're done. I'm shutting you down. We're good.
The mic's off.
Yeah, thank you. Good. I no one was talking to you. Anyways, I freaking digress. So, I appreciate the hydration pack thing in there. Next thing, moving on, getting back on train here. On train. Right? Is you have good materials and good build quality. So the materials here are, most of the pack is 500D Cordura, and the very bottom of the pack is 1000D Cordura, which is pretty durable, right? That may be what the D stands for. By the way, more webbing down here in the bottom to hang stuff off the pack. But anyways, it is very, very durable, and the zippers themselves are actually quite good as well. What we see here are these are actually a YKK zippers. You can see that on there. And they're just great. I mean, they're very smooth, and, you know, the contours and such. But they're very smooth zippers. They're very good zippers. The whole thing is very, very well constructed. All of the various parts of this, I really can put some pull on and have absolutely no concern that it's going to rip loose, right? Any one of these handles, including this handle here, I could just grab, and, you know, this is probably a pack that could suspend me in the air off a number of these things. I'm not recommending it. You should not do that, by the way, but it is definitely a thing that is nice. And so I like the durability of this, and the build quality of it overall is quite good. That's excellent. Next thing, I do appreciate the fact that on the back here, so the back looks very strange, but in practice, what you got is these three patches here are what are contacting your back. There is also the possibility of a fourth bit if you are using the strap, which goes through this spot down in the bottom here. But nonetheless, this is what's contacting your body. And this is both very heavily vented, as well as there is some prominence to this, right? These are sticking up maybe an inch or so off of the bottom of this. And what this means is that in practice, most of your back is not covered by pack. So you have a fair amount of room for air to get into there. And so you don't end up feeling quite as sweat bomby with this kind of pack on there as you do on a normal, with most packs. Right? I'm not saying it's not going to be a little bit hot, but at the same time, it is definitely much less so than some of the other options out there. I appreciated that. Great deal there. So that's good. Next thing, this guy is using Velcro everywhere. If we look inside the main pocket here, what do we see are hook and loop fastener panels, roughly in a bunch of freaking places. So this entire bottom part here is a Velcro hook and loop surface. Then as well, this entire surface here is also Velcro hook and loop, and I believe if we look inside this as well, oh, for some reason I thought there was more hook and loop in there, but nonetheless, you have these two massive panels here of Velcro style hook and loop closure, and this is actually very nice because it works well with some of Vanquest's other stuff. This is one of their little packing cubes, and I have this guy, and this just has a bunch of random medical stuff, right? And so what you can do is you can just slap it on there, and then it stays right there, right? Or you can use things like they've got all kinds of little accessories and bits and bobs that you can put on there, like this guy. You can just kind of slap on wherever you'd like, and now suddenly you've got two more pouches, and it's pretty firmly adhered on there, right? This is a little bit of a pain to get off, and it wouldn't normally come out under normal use. You can also use these pack separator kind of affairs. If you wanted to draw, like if you're a photographer and you want to put like a lens in some particular place, you could do something like this, and that gives you a separate compartment now down at the very bottom there, and everything else will stop on top of it. It's a little detail, but it's actually a nice little detail, and these kinds of things, actually, it does work pretty well, and it allows you to segment up this space a little bit more, which is nice, and something I do appreciate. Next thing, and it also works great, by the way, with other kind of, pardon me, they're packing cube style stuff. I'm a big fan of packing cubes generally, but you can use all of their various packing cubes and just kind of stick them to the inside there, which means that things are going to move around a lot less. That's actually a beautiful thing. There we go. Okay, moving on. So, next thing, this guy is relatively lightweight. I mean, certainly it's a big old pack, right? So you're going to have a little bit of extra weight to it. But compared to some of the other packs I've tried in the world, this guy is not so heavy, right? I want to say it comes in around five and change pounds empty, which is not so bad. And especially given the capacity here, not a big problem. Next thing, this guy does have a bottle pocket on the side here. So you can see here, there's another zipper. And with this zipper closed, it's very tight. With the zipper open, it's much looser, but you're able to grab a water bottle like this one and just shove it in there. There is also a little kind of elastic cord here, which is able to kind of control the bottle a little bit more and is able to prevent that bottle from coming out of there when you don't want it to, which is a nice little detail. It's a good little thought, as well as being able to control the basically the well, I don't know, capacity of this pocket using this zipper. That's a very nice thing. So it does have an external bottle holder, which is something I appreciate and something I've always missed in the Go Ruck line of packs. Next thing, this guy has a bunch of dedicated little slots for things, right? You have a bunch of these little organizer things. You know, I talked about the attachable Velcro ones, but this has a ton of those little guys everywhere. You got little slots here and here and here and here. You know, we're going to talk more about that, but there is so much little organizer-style stuff going on in this pack that it is much, much easier to carry a bunch of small items with this than it is, and without the use of any kind of admin pouches or, you know, these sorts of affairs here. You don't hardly need any of these because it's all kind of integral to the pack itself, which is a nice thing. Next thing, this guy does come with a hip belt. That's not just a belt that makes you look cool. This is a hip belt. It kind of wraps around your hips and then buckles in the front. In practice, I didn't end up using it because, honestly, in the situations I was in, I didn't need that extra bit of support. But it is a fine little hip belt, and what it basically does is it tucks through. You just pull this bit right through here. Come on now. And once you've done that, it will hit a piece of hook and loop, the bottom here, which I'm going to pull my hand. There we go. And now it is fully installed. And to remove it, all you got to do is peel up that hook and loop on the bottom there. And there you go. But now you've got yourself a full-on hip closure, which is it can be a very nice thing for carrying heavy loads. Next thing, this guy does have a bunch of organization. In fact, it has just a ton of freaking pockets. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the hip belt here, just because, A, I'm not that hip, and B, it's going to make this much more awkward. Come on now. Going to make it much, much more awkward to maneuver the pack around for the rest of the review with that kept in there. So there you go. Then finally, this guy has a ton of pockets, right? A gigantic ton. So you've got, I'm going to just kind of start going through it. You've got a big old pocket here. You got pocket, big pocket here. You got pocket, 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 pocket. You got all kinds of organizing straps around here. On the outside here, oh boy, do you have a pocket. This little area here, this looks like a water bottle holder, but water bottle holder. Wow, I'm doing great here. But if you peel this off to the side, you get pocket, you get pocket, you get pocket, and you get a bigger pocket here, complete with a little key holder thing. Inside here, you get a pocket. Over here, you get a pocket. This is a big old pocket right here, along with all the organizings. On the inside of this guy, you have a pocket on this surface right here. So this is, well, technically two pockets, but with one zipper. You have these pockets, which are a little bit stealthier, actually. A lot of folks don't even notice those, so you get two big pockets here. You get the laptop holder, which is this gigantic pocket down into here. And then, which pockets am I missing? Oh, of course, you get the hydration pouch pocket on the back here. I think that actually covers all the pocketation here, but there is a bunch of it, right? There are freaking pockets everywhere, and what this means, they're advertising 45 different places. Oh, there's a pocket back here, behind this little thing, if you want to call that a pocket. There's a place for freaking everything with this, right? As many of the little devices and dongles and things like that that you can carry, this is going to have room for, right? There are lots of little compartments. It's just a lot easy to pack very easy to pack a bunch of small things into this pack relative to anything else that I've really ever tried. This has so much organization and so many little nooks and crannies that it's just spectacular. So to me, all of that is the good. Is that it's really easy to organized. It's got a great hydration pouch in there. It's got a hip belt, lots of dedicated slots, a bottle pocket. It is relatively lightweight. They've got good use of Velcro. The vented back is nice. Good materials, build quality. Molly everywhere, and 4 different colors of availability here. Take out the water bottle just because that's going to be clunking around here. So, on the bad side. Yeet. On the bad side, or I'm sorry, on the great side. I'm sorry, guys. On the great side, this guy is still overthought. One of the things that I love most about Vanquest gear more generally is that it feels like the folks over at Vanquest are gigantic nerds about bags and pouches and things like that, right? I say that with all the respect in the world, right? These are people who overthink every element of their bags, and it shows. And it shows in little areas like how they've done the organization here, giving you different size things at different levels here. You're not going to necessarily use each one of these pouches, but it's good to have a strap of one size and a strap of another size below it. You've got a variety of different areas here where you can put things. And you've got kind of good, thoughtful choices made in the sizes of all of those various areas. You've got all kinds of good attachment points. The Velcro things work really, really well because it goes well with the rest of their products, like their packing cubes and such, which are also really great. But then you get other little tiny details on this guy that I think some folks might overlook, but are actually really brilliant. One of those little tiny details is actually on the waist strap that I just showed you. So, clearly, this has a way that it needs to be installed, right? It looks almost symmetrical, but it isn't quite. And instead, the way that they've chosen to mark that is not just by writing an arrow or something, but they have embroidered in up here in a very, very beautiful way. This is not a thing that anybody will really ever see unless you take it out, but it's really, really good. And it's a very, very nice detail. There's also a very stiff layer underneath, kind of behind this back plate here. This looks like it could just be fabric, but it isn't. It feels like there's some kind of a plastic layer underneath there that is actually quite good and quite stiff and quite able to support the weight of this pack quite well. It's a little detail, but it's there. Speaking of little details, check this out. This is a grab handle. If you have got this guy, for instance, on the car seat next to you or on the plane seat next to you, and you want to go grab it, now you have an easy short handle rather than trying to grab the entire, pack of it there. This is just a much easier way to carry this on its side, which is really, really nice, coupled with the handle that you got here, coupled with the handles that you've got on the bottom here as well. This is grabbable from every single, and the handle up here. This is grabbable from every single angle, and that's absolutely great. And then this is a final little detail that's kind of silly at some level, but it makes a lot of sense. So we'll talk about the fact that this is a very cavernous bag. There's kind of the one main cavern in there, and so very often opening this guy fully can be a little bit of a dangerous game. So what they've done is they've included this little snap. This snap goes right here, and all that this snap does is it stops you from accidentally fully opening the pack. So you can get to this little area right here at the very top, but leave this part undone. And so if you snap this shut, you cannot really unzip this pack all the way accidentally, which is a really great thing if you've got a bunch of stuff in the bottom there, like clothes or socks or something that could come tumbling out. It's a very, very nice detail. All of the little details are there, and this is one of the things I appreciate most about Vanquest, is that they take that time. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Next thing, on the bad side, the fact that there are so many damn pockets makes there a bit of a search problem. This can lead to being so organized that you are unorganized, where you're like, okay, hold on, where did I put that one thing? Right? You're like, okay, hold on, I'll check here. No, it's not in here. Okay, how about here? Oh, no, maybe it was up in here. And so, as a result, you kind of need to be organized, or else this pack is going to make you feel disorganized. You're also losing a little bit of raw capacity to having a bunch of small pockets. Rather than having one big kind of second layer here, you have these two smaller second layers, which are fine and work well, but because you have all this organization here, it's a little bit less space than if you just had two full layers of pack here. You lose a little volume that way. And because of that, I would say that this bag, and in fact, this is the main point of contrast versus the GR2. The GR2 is designed to store, it feels like, very large volume items. It has two full layers, basically, with just a little tiny bit of organization, whereas this guy has organization everywhere, but it's kind of meant to store a ton of small things efficiently rather than storing a few big things efficiently. This feels like it has less capacity for large items, but it has so much organized capacity for small ones that if that's kind of your priority, this is going to be a really, really excellent choice. I would, though, that said, like to see a slightly larger version of this, right? I felt like I could get a little bit more volume into some of the other packs in my life, partly just because of the approach here, because, you know, you've kind of got just the one main cavernous compartment here, which doesn't quite fully open all the way. But, you know, so I'd like to see them step this up just a little bit more, even like a 34, or I'm sorry, a 36, 34, something like that. The next step up is the Ibex line, which is sort of a much more of a backpacking sort of thing, kind of a whole different situation. So I'd like to see this go maybe a little tiny bit bigger. This feels a little bit smaller than what I was expecting, but also it's a little bit bigger than something that you might wear every single day in, day out, right? Not a big deal, but it is a thing. Next thing, this is very pricey, right? This is $285, and that's a good chunk of change, right? That's not a cheap pack whatsoever. And it's still cheaper than the GR2 by about $130, but that's saying more about them than anything. But you can get a lot of pack for this money, right? This is a lot of pack, to be sure, but there are a lot of different options out there. And so it's a big price to pay. It's well done, but it's a lot. Next thing, the Velcro here. So I talked about the Velcro being a really nice feature for doing things like this, but one of the areas that doesn't have any Velcro are these side panels here, as well as the bottom. It isn't Velcroed at all. And it would actually be very nice, for instance, for this little packing cube right here, to be able to just go thunk and put it there and have it stick there. Instead, I have to choose one surface or the other, instead of being able to just put it on the side where it feels kind of like it belongs, right? The lack of Velcro here was kind of a weird, to me, it felt like an oversight, and same thing on the bottom here. I don't quite get why they didn't just do the entire thing, because that would have worked maybe a little bit better, and it also would have given you the option to do a little bit more in the way of some of the organization. I don't know. It's just a little detail, but I would have liked to have seen that. Next thing, this is a very, very tactical looking pack, right? This is high speed, low drag. You are about as gray man as a road flare with this guy. And so this is definitely not going to be something that, you know, if you're just wearing this on the subway to work, you're going to look a little weird, right? You're going to look a little tactical. You're going to look it's a whole thing. I'm looking forward to checking out one of the ADX 25s, which are a little bit more in the civilian sort of look here. I don't think it's bad necessarily, and it's very function forward, but that is something you're going to want to keep in mind. This looks like a military pack, and that's going to cause some military perceptions, and that may not be what you want in a given situation. Next thing, I would like to see more in the way of locking zipper pulls. This is a nice little detail, but if we take a look at the well, actually, this pack has it here. Or, I'm sorry, this pocket here. What you see here is that these two zipper pulls actually come together with a little hole in the middle there, right? And that makes it very easy to put kind of a luggage, either a little luggage lock, which, by the way, are not actual locks. They're not in any way, shape, or form secure, or even just a zip tie to keep pickpockets out of your pack. It's a really nice idea, but it's kind of missing in a couple of the areas. And kind of the biggest area where I noticed it was missing was the which one was it? Yeah, the side pack here. This was the one that I noticed, like, why isn't there the locking pull on this guy here? That would have been a little bit nicer, and it would have kept the entire thing kind of lockable, or at least zip-tieable. That can be a nice thing, especially dealing with, like, TSA and things like that. So, you know, whatever, not a huge deal. Next thing, this guy doesn't lay fully flat, right? You can undo this guy only this far. This is the most open you can ever get this guy. And to be fair, this is pretty open, right? But there are definitely times where you want to open the pack up fully, for instance, on the, you know, on your bed or something like that, as you're packing a bunch of clothing in, and go in from the top. It just makes things a little bit easier. And I kind of wish that there was just that little bit of extra zipper travel down to the side here that would let this guy go fully all the way open. I feel like that would have been a nice little detail here. It's something that I as I've used like the Go Rucks, I just am very appreciative of that full open up, flat sort of thing. Next thing, that brings us to this main compartment, which is huge, right? It is a gigantic compartment, but it's kind of big, right? It's kind of capacious, and it's sort of the main area here. And as a result, if you're packing for like a trip or something, you're going to have a bunch of stuff in here, right? You're going to have shirts, you're going to have socks, whatever the heck, you know, you're going to have all your various gear, your etc. All that's going to be up in there. And as a result, there's kind of just one big milieu for everything that you're keeping. And if you're trying to reach in here to grab just one thing, it's a little bit awkward. That is one benefit to having kind of two separate areas where you can put all of the loose stuff in one area and just leave that sealed. And then the stuff that you might need to access can go elsewhere. And to be fair, you can do some of that by using these outer components here. But for instance, if you want a jacket to be in your main area, and you can do that kind of on the top here, but it's a little bit awkward having the main compartment here be, well, involved with all the other stuff in there. So it seems like a pack that is very well suited, and this is understandable given that they do that, but for packing cube style stuff, right, where you can put all your clothes in a packing cube down here, and that gives you some extra space. But it kind of does seem to require that by virtue of having just kind of one really big area here. And finally, actually not quite finally, the next big issue with it is the laptop sleeve. So this technically is the laptop sleeve down in here. The goal here is to take your laptop, in this case this is a MacBook Air 13-inch, and you just toss it back in there and boom, you got yourself a laptop thing. And look, this is all well and good. And to be fair, also I want to be clear, this hydration bladder pack also works well with most laptops, right? As long as you can get it to slide in kind of through this side little bit here, and you can get the MacBook Air in and out completely, but this is also a very good place to put a laptop, and in practice when traveling, that's where I kept mine, because I'm going with a smaller laptop lately, because, well, yeah, if I want real computing, I'll do it on a big computer, right? But anyways, the fact is, though, if you are carrying a larger computer, like a big 17-inch sort of affair or something like that, set my laptop down over here so I don't get that across the room. In order to get to your laptop here, you need to get into the main pack, right? The dedicated sleeve is in here, and so that's fine. That seems well and good, but the problem is, imagine you have a bunch of stuff packed on top of it, and the only real way to get into this pack without letting all of that stuff out is by coming in from the top here. And the problem is then you're trying to extract your laptop from here, but then this top part, this wall here, is basically blocking you from just pulling it out the top. So as a result, what you end up having to do is to go past the zipper here and kind of come in from the side. You hold it on this way, and then basically you're hoping and you're praying that nothing's falling out the top here. As you undo this underneath your stuff, come in, grab your laptop. This is not a great experience, right? I would very much like to see a revision of this guy that has like a top-accessible laptop pouch, where this laptop pouch is just made the entire surface, and there's one more zipper right up at the top here. That would allow you to reach in, grab that laptop. It also gives you a whole different compartment, which would be nice, but I think that would just be nicer. That way there's this main area that you really never have to open unless you want the stuff in the main area, and then there's a way to get at your laptop. The other thing that would actually make this a little bit nicer would be if the hydration bladder pocket, actually, if the zipper kind of curved around at the top here. If this zipper kept going, then you could pull the entire hydration bladder part all the way, kind of, peel it back and keep a much larger laptop in there than is naturally going to fit in through this little hole here. And that would make this whole area back here a dedicated laptop pouch, and this part would be maybe a second laptop pouch? I don't freaking know. But either way, the laptop situation is really not great here. Also, considering that there's very little padding on the bottom of it here, this is just this is a pack where it feels like the laptop functionality is kind of an afterthought. It's great if you're planning to pack your laptop for the entire trip and then access it at the end, but if you are regularly getting into it, say like on a plane, you're having to come in through the side, or, God help you, you're having to try and come in through the side without letting everything else that's in here explode out into your lap. Not necessarily a great situation. Laptop function feels like an afterthought on a pack that is otherwise very, very well thought out. Then finally, on the bad side, the ergonomic shoulder straps are not super ergonomic to me. So these are shoulder straps that have a curvature to them, right? They are not just a kind of a flat strap, like, for instance, on a number of packs, right? But these have a very specific curvature. They also have a stiffness to them. And that stiffness, unfortunately, just doesn't super work well for my body, right? This is the case with, in pocket knife world, too. When you add specific, areas on the handle where your fingers are supposed to go, when you add finger grooves, that means it's going to fit some fingers well and fit others very poorly. And this didn't really fit me particularly well. I'm sure they are perfect and ergonomic for some people, but they're just not great for me. right? They're making a decision about how this needs to wear, and it's not the right decision for me. I bet they're going to improve with break-in as they become a little bit less stiff over time, and I'll follow up when that happens, so to speak. But after 2 trips with the pack and some daily use, this is still my least favorite part of it. It felt like the strips were digging into me in various places. I'm sorry, the straps were digging into me at various places, all throughout the travel. That wasn't necessarily ideal. I feel like these want me to be shaped a little bit differently than I am, and I don't feel like I've got such a weird build, by the way. It's just, that wasn't an amazing bit here. So, to me, all of that is the bad, is that the ergonomic shoulder straps don't work super well for me. The laptop thing kind of feels like an afterthought, unless you can get it in through the side here, in which case it works okay. The main compartment is very big and capacious, and it's kind of a pain in the neck to get to something in there with everything else loose in there. It doesn't lay fully flat when you're packing it up there. I'd like to see one more lock and zipper pull there. The Velcro isn't everywhere you'd expect, like right there. It is very high speed, low drag. It is very pricey, and I'd like to see a slightly bigger version here. On the ugly front, there's nothing particularly ugly here. And so, final conclusion, this bag is, well, it ain't subtle, that's for sure, and it's definitely a little bit extra, but it is quite good, right? This has a lot of good stuff going for it, with good color choices, lots of moly, good grommets for getting in and out of the hydration bladder area, good materials and build, venting for sweat reduction on the back piece there, lots of Velcro, lightweight, bottle pocket, dedicated storage, hip belt, hydration pouch, massive amounts of organization, and the same kinds of overthinking that Vanquest always seems to do. It's very possible to have so many pockets that you cease knowing where anything is. It's geared towards many small items rather than a few big ones. It does feel a little small for some kinds of travel. It's very pricey. It's very tactical. The Velcro doesn't exist in important places. I'd like to see one more lock and zipper pull over there. It doesn't fully flatten. The main compartment is gigantic and a little painful to get into. Laptop functionality isn't as well thought out as the rest of it, and the ergonomic straps are not built for my ergos. Final conclusion, this is a bag that I like in a bunch of different ways, right? This was a very, very solid bag for travel and, frankly, for daily life. And in a lot of ways, I think this bag is going to be absolutely strongest for somebody who has a ton of small equipment that they are carrying on a regular basis, right? If you are a person with 50,000 little items, like tools or things like that you are carrying, dongles, adapters, who the heck knows, you're going to have a bunch of different little things that are all going to fit into all of these various pouches. This is going to be a very, very, very good pack for you, right? If you are looking to carry a bunch of things in style, this is great. And it is better in that case, or in that sense, than it is being a big pack for big items. And in a lot of ways, I feel like this ends up complementing the GR2 rather than replacing it. The GR2 is very good for holding a large volume of large objects. This is, certainly you can hold some volume to it, but it's much, much better at storing a bunch of small objects, at being a pack that has a bunch of stuff in it well organized, rather than just a pack that holds a bunch of stuff. Right? So the biggest decider, though, I think actually for a lot of people is going to end up being the laptop situation, because that's the one area where I feel like this is weak. The ergonomic thing, that could just be I'm weird. Well, okay, I'm weird, right? But that could just be a thing. This is actually, I feel like, a little bit of an oversight. If you don't carry a laptop, or you never access your laptop as you're traveling, then honestly, it doesn't freaking matter at all. You're good to go. And similarly, if you use a small laptop and you don't mind going in through the side, which, by the way, is a little awkward when this guy is sitting between your legs in a coach air flight, right? That's a little bit painful, but nonetheless, if you're willing to go through the side and you use a smaller laptop, then this compartment will be fine. But if you have a mega laptop that you need access to on the regular, or you're using a hydration pouch so that this pocket is no longer available to you, then this becomes a much more problematic choice. And I think another pack that has dedicated laptop access would be a little bit better off for you. And so I do actually hope that there's a revision down the road of this guy. Ideally, maybe a little bit more capacity, but at the very least, a longer zipper for the hydration pouch would make this a really good functional sort of laptop holder. And I'm sure there's other clever ways they could figure it out, right? But that would be a very nice little detail here. And frankly, you could also just go with a dedicated zipper here for the laptop pouch and make the laptop pouch a continuous little chunk here. I think that would be very nice. Then maybe some straps that are a little more ergonomic for everybody. But with tweaks to those areas, this could easily be a gem. And as it stands, it's very good. It's sort of right on that borderline, right? I remain a big fan of Vanquest, and I am a big fan of this pack. And if you have a lot of little items that you're going to want to be packing and organizing and keeping with you on a regular basis in some way that has to make some variety of sense, or if you're big on the packing cubes and things like that, so you have other ways to organize things, this is going to be really great. So if you want flexibility, modularity, and a very smart design, and you're willing to put down the cash for a pretty high-quality item, then I think this little guy is absolutely worth a try, then. Okay. Hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.